There are some niche situations I do want to point out that I see
Yes.
most people that are not P&T but are 100% fall into. And then it really comes down to one thing. If I see a decision letter, right, I'm a veteran, I submit my claims, I'm 100% not P&T. We're going to have a question. How do you know your conditions are static? Straight up. If your decision letter does not say routine future exam, it's static, okay? That you'll see that in a new decision letters. You can also go to your regional office and do the FOIA request for your rating code sheet, right? We can talk about that another day, but that's how you find out. The easiest way
or your VSO, can just pull it up.
The easiest
Unless you were
way
just going to say that.
Yeah, no, you're fine. Now, the number one thing to remember, if you get a decision letter and you are 100% but not P&T, it is absolutely game time, okay? It is time to get serious about healthcare. This is one of those things that it's good because you get benefits, but it's bad because you have a disability. But it's bad you have a disability, but it's good you get benefits. You know, it hurts so good. It's one of those because, you know, let's say mental health, you want to get better, and getting better is a good thing. I think we can all agree on that. But then at the same time, you also lose benefits, and there's a monetary benefit, which helps my mental health, right? Financial is a huge piece of this mental stability. And so it's that really weird situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you get a decision letter on a claim that's not static, evidence becomes, it's already critical. Okay. I would just double down on how critical evidence is, whether that's through the VA. Now, I don't know why this is, but most people that I've seen with 100% but not P&T, for some reason, go to private healthcare, right? Which is good. I'm a fan of that. And that's good. Keep in mind, the VA doesn't see that. Okay. The VA has absolutely zero idea who you're talking to, why you're talking to them, if you're seeing a psychiatrist, none of that, if it's not within their network. And I think that really pins the focus on the veteran to say, hey, I know I have private health care, but annually or quarterly, whatever you want to do, I'm going to meet my VA primary care and then give the VA those records for that condition that is not static. Because the VA is looking at your records. When that routine future exam pops up, they're going to look at those records. And the worst case scenario is you have an ACE exam, so not in person, you get a letter of reduction. And one day you're just like, whoa, I'm being reduced, right? And it's because there's a lack of records there. Is that right or wrong? That's a different topic, right? We can go into that. But that's what's going to happen. So if you're using private, just remember you have to show, you know, the breadcrumbs, right? Hey, you rated me at 50% for mental health. 3 years later, I've been seen for this. I've been seen for that. I've developed suicidal ideations. I went to therapy, whatever that looks like for you. I'm on medication, right? It's clearly the same or more severe. Make sure the VA has those records. That's what's going to move you from 100% to 100% P&T. And there's one niche situation I definitely want to hit on because a lot of people don't understand that if you are discharged due to mental health, right, which is the majority of medical discharge is mental health, no matter what, you will be re-examined in 6 months. Okay, so you're not going to get 100% P&T if you're medically discharged or medically retired for mental health. It's not going to happen, right? After 6 months, maybe. But if you're medically discharged, this is from M21. I'm going to paraphrase here. If you're medically discharged for mental health, minimum rating 50% with a re-examination in 6 months. And so no matter what, you're not going to be P&T, okay? But now you know, all right, I have 6 months to go see my healthcare team. And I'm telling you, this is for everyone who's not P&T. If you have a lack of records, that is enough evidence for the VA to say, you know what? It's not that bad. If it was that bad, you would go see your doctor, and that's what's going to prompt them to get that reduction letter. And all of a sudden, you're saying the VA sucks, you know, on YouTube, like Jason and I are, right? But that's the story. Like that's what happens. There are other scenarios. Cancer, obviously, it's going to be rated on residuals, and then your temporary ratings like surgery will be rated on residual. So one last thing, I think we're kind of going everywhere. I just want to get all my thoughts out on 100%. TDIU at 100% generally, right? Because if you're bad enough where you can't work, it's not likely you're going to heal. You'll eventually, majority of the time, you'll see IU and P&C. And so that takes about, I want to say 4 to 5 years on average, at least from what I've seen. But yeah, Jason, those are my last thoughts on the claim clinic, on the $15 billion shortfall, on the 100% in P&C. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have some more on the 100%. So a couple things. One is there may be individuals out there who are 100% not permanent in total, who should be permanent in total, okay, already. And for fear of poking the bear, they just don't say anything, right? And it could be something to where, like we've mentioned, a static condition may have met thresholds and it's just out there and it's been that way for 10, 15 years and you just left it alone. Another example would be, and this is my own personal example of what happened to me. Sometimes we have a claim in, that claim's getting decided, that takes us somewhere. In the meantime, we weren't happy with that. So then we end up filing an appeal. That takes a long time with the board. In the meantime, we found another claim we were going to file for. We filed for that. That claim takes us to 100%. Meanwhile, we still have the Board of Veterans Appeal claim in process. Then that gets decided, comes back, and well, we're already at 100%. But now we have this new one that comes in that changes the dynamic potentially because for my example, personal example, I got to 100% with a claim with the VBA for an increase. I was already at 100%, not permanent in total, because I had one condition that had a future exam. All my other conditions were static. I had one that had a future exam. I'm at 100%. My increase with the Board of Veterans Appeals was a static condition asking for an increase. They granted the increase. That comes back. I don't need my not static condition any longer to be 100%. Now my increase from the board was enough to bring me to 100%. So now I had 100% of static conditions with the VA funny math. I still had this outlier with a future exam, but because my conditions that were static all added up to 100%, that was my leg to stand on. The VA didn't change it for me. I had to reach out to the VA and go, hey, VA, I'm now 100% all static conditions. Change me to 100% permanent in total. They did. And then because I no longer need any rating for that future examined condition, they just eliminate it as far as any future exams, because they're like, it doesn't matter. If they reduced me to 0 for that condition, I'd still be 100% permanent in total. So they just eliminate future exams because it doesn't change the overall outcome for you. So if you were in any sort of situation like that, where you had different claims happening in different places coming back in, you might have static conditions that equal 100%, especially for people that have multiple conditions that you filed for an increase later, you did this, you did that. You might actually have static conditions at 100%, and then some that aren't, but they're over 100, so you don't even need them anyway. And it's simply notifying the VA that you should be permanent in total. It's just an oversight on their side. Believe me, the VA is not sitting there going, oh, let's look in Clay's file and see what he's up to, because they really don't care. They're more worried about getting off for the day and going home, texting their friends, and figuring out their weekend, right? The people that are handling our claims, let's just be honest. I mean, they're probably like GS8 workers or something. You know what I mean? So nobody's out trying to. Well, they might be trying to find Clay, maybe, but not so much you. Now, the last thing I wanted to throw in, just because it's applicable, is in the 38 CFR, right? God, I just hate even saying it, but I say it just so people know that I actually am looking at it. It states this. No, now we all understand, first of all, that being static is the key to 100% permanent and total, right? And what is being static? It's not having a future examination. That's being static, okay? That your condition is deemed not to get better, so the VA is not wasting their time on you anymore as far as those re-exams. So, Clay, you already know what I'm going to read. I'm just going to read it anyway.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So, no periodic future examinations will be requested in service-connected cases. No periodic re-examination will be scheduled, and it has a list of 6 different reasons why. Number 1, when the disability is established as static. So no future exam, right? When you're static. Now, in my opinion, most of the rest of these are ways that your condition would be deemed as static. So it's kind of like, it's almost like defining static in a weird way, but they're all listed out as separate ways to get there. So in any case, I'm going to read through these real quick. So no future exams when your disability is established as static. Number 2, when the findings and symptoms are shown by examination scheduled in paragraph B2I or 1 of this section or other examinations and hospital records to have persisted without material improvement for a period of 5 years, right? So that's that 5-year thing we talked about. That's why you'll always see your re-examinations within that 5-year period. It's typically 3 or 4 years in. Number 3, where the disability from disease is permanent in character and of such nature that there is no likelihood of improvement. Some conditions are just, it is what it is. You're static. That's it. Welcome to your life, right? Don't get confused, though, with having a static condition, a condition that is deemed static, and your rating. 2 different things, okay? You can always move your rating, right? You can move your rating around. You can go for an increase. Your rating can be here, but it can be a static condition, right? So you can always go increase, right? That what they're saying is that condition is not likely going to improve, but it can always get worse. So you can go up. So don't think that you can't ask for an increase, right? It can always get worse. Next one, number 4, in cases of veterans that are over the age of 55 years, except under unusual circumstances. And Clay, I would say that your mention of cancer typically falls in that boat, as far as, if you're 57 years old, you're over the 55 years rule, but you come down with cancer, they're going to wait and see what happens with the cancer, see if it goes into remission, what sort of residuals, and then they're going to determine from there. So that would probably be the most common, I would think. I don't really know of any other more common than that. Number 5, when the rating is prescribed schedule minimum rating. So if you're 10% tinnitus, that's static because there's only 10%. So if you're the lowest rating for a condition on the rating schedule, then they just call you static. Next one is number 6, and this is the last one, and then I'll pass it back to you, Clay, for your final thoughts. Where a combined disability evaluation would not be affected if the future examination should result in a reduced evaluation for 1 or more conditions. This is the one where you have 8 conditions, 7 of them took you to 100%. You're good to go. All those are static, for example. You have this other condition that even if it was reduced to a 0, you'd still be 100%. So they're saying that it doesn't change your overall rating, so why bother? They would just negate it, any future exams on that. So with that, Clay, that's the 6 ways to become static to ensure you can get to that 100% permanent and total. Your thoughts on any of that?
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to keep this real short, and I'll take it back to you. More so on your personal story that you had to basically, nudge the VA to award you PNT. You could have lived your whole life in the not knowing and just been 100% and been fine, right? but because you were paying attention to your claim, paying attention to the situation, and you were active, you were your own advocate. That's what positioned you to go the P&T route. And it goes to say, you know, if you can live your whole life not knowing and be perfectly fine, or you can be informed, be educated. If you're watching this channel,